Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body, Tips from the Latest Research, developed and presented by the Alzheimer's Association. My name is Jennifer Cardellini. I'm the Director for Consumer Information at Benjamin Rose Institute on Aging and the Co-Project Director for the Administration for Community Living Alzheimer's Disease Programs Initiative Project, titled Expansion of Dementia-Capable Communities within Urban and Rural Settings in Ohio Using Evidence-Based and Informed Programming. This session today is being offered as a part of this Administration for Community Living project. Today's webinar will be recorded. During the webinar, you may submit a question at any time using the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. We have staff monitoring the questions box to convey your questions to our presenter and to answer any technical questions you may have. We are conducting an evaluation of our dementia education sessions as a part of this project. You should have received an email with a link to the pre-session evaluation questionnaire and a document titled Dementia Education Evaluation Information that further explains the evaluation. If you registered this morning or did not have a chance to complete the pre-session questionnaire, we ask that you please complete this now using the links provided in the chat. By doing so, you are helping others in your community. And feedback will be used to show the impact of programs like these and to improve the tools and resources provided to individuals living with dementia and the people who support them. I now have the pleasure of introducing our keynote presenter for this morning's presentation, Polly Meitinger. Ms. Meitinger is the Education Programs Manager at the Alzheimer's Association. Through her role, she works with dynamic and passionate volunteers to present educational programs about Alzheimer's and other dementias throughout the Cleveland area. Please join me in welcoming Polly Meitinger.
Hello, everyone. First off, I'm honored to be here today and this afternoon on this, hopefully a little bit sunnier for you guys wherever you are. But my name is Polly Meitinger. I do work for the Alzheimer's Association as the Education Programs Manager. I am eager to give you guys this presentation today. Like she said, questions will be later on, so feel free. Don't be shy about your questions in the chat. I love to hear from you all. It helps me also gauge a better understanding of what is connecting and really resonating with you. But without further ado, I'm going to talk a little bit about what this program is. So this program is designed to offer you research-based recommendations about taking care of our brains and our bodies in order to age as well as possible. And I'll just go on into my first slide. So by the end of this program, hopefully you'll be able to identify the reasons for taking care of yourself as you age and be able to list a few strategies to help you age well in the following areas. So that's physical health and exercise, diet and nutrition, conjugative activity, and social engagement. And we're also going to take a look, while this program is going on, I want you to check in with yourself a little bit and kind of make a plan for yourself about what strategies you're going to learn today that you can possibly implement into your life and your practice. So as we go through all of this, just check in with yourself and say, hey, that is something that I think that I can incorporate into my daily life. But on to my next slide, we're going to start by talking about the factors that contribute to how human beings age. So there are some ways in which we age that we all have in common, and many of these are outside of our control. As older adults, for example, our hair typically turns gray, our skin wrinkles, no matter how many creams we decide to buy, and our eyes tend to focus less effectively while reading. As individuals, though, we age a little bit differently, and how this takes place depends on our genes. We are each genetically predisposed to age in a certain way. For example, some families will tend to live a long time, aging really well into their 90s or even longer, while other families tend to develop diseases that may limit their lifespan. These things are all just out of our control. However, there are some things about aging which we do have a degree of control, and these aspects of aging include the lifestyle or the environmental factors associated with how we age. And even in families with genetic predispositions toward particular conditions, there are lifestyle and environmental interventions that may alter the course of those conditions significantly. So we can start by adapting habits to permanently and potentially improve our overall health. And these habits may help keep our bodies and our brains healthy as we age. So going on to the next slide, let's talk a little bit about the brain and how it works. The brain is the control center of our entire body. It controls our bodily function, and that includes our thoughts and our movement. It's also the control center for just every bit of your body. There are approximately 100 billion nerve cells called neurons in the brain. They are structured like branches of a tree, and they're creating a network of pathways through which signals are sent to form thoughts, feelings, and memories. Alzheimer's disease progressively destroys those brain cells as it moves through the brain, effectively affecting more functions as it progresses. So moving into the next slide, we can talk about how we've known for years that the body and the brain are connected, and what is good for the body may also be good for the brain. Now, science is able to tell us why this is true and what we can do to maximize our health. Much of the body-brain connection is due to the fact that the brain is nourished by the blood's richest network of blood vessels. The oxygen and the other elements are delivered through the brain through these blood vessels and the bloodstream that keep the brain nourished. Each time your heart beats, 25% of the blood is being moved to your brain. This is why keeping the body in good working order helps keep the brain fueled to do its work. On to the next slide. There are so many benefits to aging as well. I know I talked a little bit about like losing your hair or your hair color, maybe graying, but there are benefits to aging. And those, if you ask someone you know who is over the age of 50 or 60, you may hear discussions of increased feelings of comfort with who they are as an individual, and a little bit less concerned about the opinions or criticisms of others. Those in their 70s and 80s may talk about the wisdom that comes with life experience and their appreciation for their perspective. We also have, as we age, there are changes that take place in our bodies and our brains. Many of these are to be expected as typical age-related changes, such as some decline in the ways our brains process information. In addition, however, there are some diseases that are more common as we age, and some of those impact our brain function. Alzheimer's disease and other dementias result when the brain is compromised in some specific ways. Currently, there are no proven methods to prevent, cure, and significantly slow down the progression of Alzheimer's disease, but there are habits, though, that potentially improve our overall health as we age. These habits may also keep your brain healthy as you age. So although this program isn't specifically about the issues related with Alzheimer's disease and dementia, it's also helpful to know some basic information about those conditions to understand how they relate to healthy aging and what we can do to help our brains and our bodies as we age. Dementia is a general term that's caused by many different diseases, each with different symptoms. The symptoms of all these diseases have one thing in common, though, and that is that they compromise the way the brain works and cause a decline in memory or other brain functions that are noticeable enough to affect everyday life. Although dementia and the diseases under this umbrella term are associated with aging, they are not a normal part of aging. If they were, everyone would develop them as they age, and we know that's just not the case. Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia. It accounts for 60 to 80% of all cases. Some of the risks dementia includes are age, genetics, head injury, and if you have fewer years on your formal education. And we're going to discuss a few more of these risks in more detail a little bit later on in the program. I will say, though, there have been some therapies that have been developed to treat symptoms of the disease that are effective in some ways for a limited period of time. One of which you guys may have heard about. There was a treatment that was approved earlier this year on June 7th of 2021. This was the first treatment that addresses the underlying biology of the Alzheimer's disease. And apologize for my pronunciation, but it's which targets reduces the plaques of the brain in the individual with Alzheimer's, which is reasonably likely to lead to the reduction in the clinical decline of Alzheimer's disease. This treatment is appropriate for people who have evidence of a buildup of plaques in the brain and mild cognitive impairments due to Alzheimer's disease, or people living with mild or early Alzheimer's dementia. This is a new treatment and it's pivotal, but it's not a cure. This is the first of many new treatments to come, and we are very excited from the Alzheimer's Association's perspective. If you want to learn more about if it may be a good treatment for you, we highly recommend reaching out to your doctor and having an honest conversation with them. But we are very excited about this new treatment that has come out. It is the first one since 2003 that has been a preventative treatment, but it's also the first to address the underlying biology. So we're very excited about the momentum and the research that's being done right now for Alzheimer's disease. But moving back into these slides, I'd like to just talk a little bit about the Alzheimer's Association in general. We do offer a lot of different programs and resources, both in person and online, similar to this one, where you can get additional information about Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. So please, if you haven't had a chance to engage with us, we invite you to come talk to us about what we can do to help support you through your journey. But now we're going to talk a little bit about aspects of healthy aging. So these are the main areas that we are going to talk about. So we have physical health and exercise, diet and nutrition, cognitive activity, and social engagement. We're going to look at what the most current research tells us about changes that we can make in each of these areas. And that can just help our bodies and our brains age as well as possible. As we touch on each of the areas, I just want you to think about how you can apply this research to your life and consider something about what you can do that you enjoy, making gradual changes, and starting now, regardless of how old you are. Whenever it's possible, we want you to think about changes that are going to affect one area and not just more than one area instead of just one at a time. So let's start by exploring the area of physical health and exercise. There's quite a bit of research in this area about how physical activity affects brain health. Many studies indicate that engaging in physical activity is associated with lower risk of cognitive decline. So many researchers say that if people had to choose one thing to do to improve their brain functioning, it should be exercise. And I know some of you are like, oh, me too. I'm not a runner. So I know for a fact when we talk about what you can do that you enjoy to get your physical activity, I know for a fact my go-to move is not going to be to go run and grab a pair of running shoes. For me, it's going to be something else. So kind of think about that as we're going through. While one thing may work for one person, it may not be for you. But let's just talk a little bit about that. So some evidence suggests that exercise may directly benefit the brain cells by increasing blood and oxygen flow and by reducing other forms of dementia risk factors such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol. However, there is no single recipe for what works best. Most researchers believe that exercise should be regular and on the more vigorous side, but studies have shown benefits from mild activities such as walking. So now we're going to switch it up a little bit. You're not going to hear me talk for a second. We're going to flip over to a video. Your screen is going to shift a little bit, so don't be alarmed. But let's watch this first video where Woodley is going to describe developing a new habit.
It's surprising how you can easily build up habits of just taking 15 to 20 minutes out of your day to go down, hit the treadmill, and just do it. Just do it. Just get on it, put my headphones on, and just walk at a nice brisk pace for myself, build up a quick heartbeat, quick sweat, and it's amazing how quickly I can go from 15 minutes to 20 minutes. And then over time, 30 minutes, and over time, 40 minutes. Before you know it, you're up to 45 minutes of walking, and even at a higher incline and also at a higher pace. And again, it's all about incorporating habits in the choices that we make.
So yeah, as he talked about, it's not about running a marathon tomorrow. It's about just figuring out what's going to work best with you and developing those habits that are going to be sustainable. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people do, and we look at this when we do like our New Year's resolution, is we always think we're going to solve the universe's problems, and by writing it down, we're good to go. But sometimes you're not thinking about it from a realistic standpoint by checking in with yourself and identifying what are those habits that you can create, that you know that you can sustain. So if it's walking for 15 minutes a day, and once you've accomplished that, then you're like, I'm going to bump it up to 20 minutes, then 30 minutes, then 40 minutes, and eventually you're going on an hour walk a day. That is fantastic. And those are little wins that you should celebrate as you kind of go on through your health journey and making these better life choices that are going to help with your aging. But now I'm going to go into the most important recommendation is just be as active as you can and incorporate activity that you enjoy so that you're going to continue to do it. If you don't like doing something, don't have that be your physical activity. If that's not your jam, find a different song. And if this is new for you, start out small. Walk around your neighborhood a few times a week. Take the stairs a little bit more often. This one I'm guilty of. I park my car as close as possible to the door when I get into work. Don't do that. Park a few blocks, or not blocks, but park a few rows back, and each time challenge yourself to park a little bit further. Those little steps, they're going to add up, and eventually you're going to be hitting your goals that you're setting for yourself. And look, and like I said, the little changes add up. The research shows that even 20 to 30 minutes of walking a few times a week has huge health benefits. Participate in cardiovascular activity regularly. This is going to increase your blood flow to your brain and your body, providing additional nourishment. And research has shown that for most people, any additional movement is a positive change that can have an impact on your overall health. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have developed recommendations and guidelines for physical activity. And for more details about these recommendations and how you can reach them, just take a look at the CDC's website. And a little bit of a synopsis of that is just move safely to prevent injury, wear a helmet when you're biking to prevent head injury, ask friends to join you. This way you can make it a social, which is also beneficial to your brain and body, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Also consider physical activities that may also be mentally or socially engaging, such as a dance class or joining an exercise group or engaging in a challenging sport, such as golfing or playing tennis. There's so many options for you to consider, and I definitely recommend sampling them all until you find the one that fits best for you and your lifestyle choices. And then also check in with your doctor. Make sure that whatever you're signing up for is not putting your body in harm's way. So let's say you decide that you want to become like an Olympic athlete, but maybe you don't have the best knees. Talk to your doctor about it. See what your doctor recommends. It's going to be a beneficial exercise for you so that you can get the most out of your experience. And then also, big one, it's not too late. Just remember, it's not too late to start your health journey. And it's never too early. Like if you start and you have to stop, it's okay to restart. As long as you are making the effort to build this into your practice, that's the biggest thing that we can take away from this. So on to my next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about how studies have found that smoking increases the risk of cognitive decline and may increase the risk of dementia. Additional benefits of stopping smoking include lower risk of heart attacks, stroke, and lung disease. It's also going to help with better blood circulation and avoiding exposing others to secondhand smoke. Alcohol also has many effects, although a glass or two of red is commonly thought to have health benefits. You should not start drinking if you don't already do so. Also, excessive drinking of alcohol has some serious negative consequences, including slow or impaired communication among your brain cells, fuzzy memory or drowsiness, long-term changes in balance, memory, emotions, coordination, and body temperature. It also can be a big contributor to falls and fall-related injuries in older adults, and it also can react negatively with any medications, leading to potentially dangerous or even life-threatening consequences. Also, get enough sleep. Set your timer. Go to bed at a reasonable hour. Inadequate sleep is due to conditions such as insomnia or sleep apnea can cause serious problems with your memory and your thinking. I know I'm guilty of that, so I personally have set personal goals for myself to make sure that I get to bed at a reasonable hour. And if I know it's going to be a late night, figuring out what I can do to make sure I get those extra hours of sleep, because I can definitely tell a difference in my day when I don't sleep. So I know a lot of you who are watching probably can relate deeply with that statement. Another one is avoid any injury to your head. Head injuries and falls can contribute to physical and cognitive difficulties. So be sure to wear a helmet when riding a bicycle or playing sports that could involve a head injury. Also, studies have found that regular physical activity decreases stress increases your ability to maintain stress, and leads to a better overall mood. Monitor your level of stress, take action to minimize it, and seek professional assistance to address anxiety, depression, or other mental health concerns. And be sure that you have informed all of your doctors about all of the medications that you take, and have reviewed them with your primary doctor as well once a year. And then also find a physician you trust, and visit him or her on a regular basis, follow up on all the recommendations. And this is one of the best things that you can do to maximize your health as you age. So make sure you are checking in regularly with your doctors or your physicians. Moving on to the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about how growing evidence suggests that many factors that increase the risk of heart disease and stroke may also increase the risk of dementia. These include high blood pressures, diabetes, obesity, and possibly high cholesterol. Although there is good research being done in these areas, more is needed. But for now, this is what we do know. We do know that research has shown an increase in the risk of cognitive decline and dementia among individuals with diabetes. Although diabetes has not been shown to cause Alzheimer's disease, there is a relationship between the two that have diabetes, and there's a relationship between those who have diabetes and those who have dementia. There also have been studies that have found that midlife obesity may also be associated with an increased risk of dementia. Research is being done on treatments to reduce midlife hypertension. Suggests that they may also reduce the decline of reduce cognitive decline. Also, studies have shown that mixed results of the relationship between high cholesterol levels and dementia. We know that a good cholesterol level is good for the heart, and what's good for the heart is also good for the brain, as we talked about with the blood flow. So anything that you can do that's going to help with your overall heart is going to help with your dementia-related, preventing dementia as much as possible. The best way to combat these health concerns is just get your cardiovascular factors mentioned above tested regularly, and work with your doctor to understand what the results mean for your overall health. Be aware of the changes from previous levels to help determine whether changes are needed to help you stay healthy. African Americans, Latinos, and other ethnic groups that tend to have higher rates of high blood pressure, diabetes, and cardiovascular problems need to work closely with their doctors as well to help with other medical concerns. Now we're moving on to the next slide, and we're going to kind of change up the conversation. And now we're going to go into diet and nutrition. Again, we know that healthy fueling the body benefits brain functions, but there are so many differing opinions about what's the best way to eat to maximize your health. Research in the area of the relationship between diet and cognitive functioning is somewhat limited, but it does point to the benefits of two diets in particular. So I'm going to talk about those two diets, which is the DASH, which is the Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension diet, and the Mediterranean diet. The diet approaches to the DASH diet is a flexible, balanced eating plan. Studies show that the DASH diet lowers high blood pressure and improves levels of blood lipids, which also reduce the risk of developing cardiovascular disease. Because the DASH diet is a healthy way of eating, it offers potential health benefits beyond simply lowering your blood pressure, including reducing cancer, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. The next one is the Mediterranean diet, which incorporates the basics of healthy eating along with other components of characterizing the traditional cooking style of the countries bordering the Mediterranean Sea. A research analyst of more than 1.5 million healthy adults demonstrated that following the Mediterranean diet could reduce the risk of death from heart disease or cancer. It also may reduce it reduces the risk of Parkinson's and other Alzheimer's disease. So it's never too late to adopt a different or heart-healthy diet, and studies show that making these changes even later in life may have benefits to your brain health. But I do recommend before you attempt any diets, just check in with your doctors, see and make sure that the right one and you're getting the proper nutrition that you need for your body. And now I'm going to switch it over to do another video. So be mindful of there's going to be a slight transition. And we're going to hear a little bit from Dr. Martha Claire Morris, who's talking about diet that's been helping her age in a healthy way.
Foods that have been shown to lead to healthy aging would be fruits and vegetables, and in particular green leafy vegetables and berries, as well as limited intake of high-fat food items that you get through high-fat dairy and cheese and red meats, and also healthy vegetable oils. So this would be, olive oil would be a good example, have been shown to reduce your risk of heart disease as well as dementia.
Okay. So, like she mentioned, there are different ways that you can approach with the different oils. Personally, I cook with olive oil a little too much, so it always brings me joy to know that that's actually a pretty decent approach to doing a healthy diet. But there are some simple ways to adopt a healthy diet that may benefit your blood and your brain, and we all probably know this, but here's your daily reminder. So let's incorporate our vegetables. Let's talk about eating leafy green vegetables have been shown to have good healthy benefits. Eat more diet-rich in fruits. Some studies have indicated that certain fruits, such as berries, may be particularly helpful. Eating nuts, beans, whole grains, your lean meats, your fish, your poultry, and try to choose foods that are containing unsaturated fats, which are found in nuts, vegetable oils, and fish, and aim for a diet low in saturated and trans fats. And then just stay away from, the delicious ones, but stay away from your processed foods, your deep fried foods, and excessive sugar and salt. And I know it's a little bit hard with the football season, but we can do it all together if we just make the change to try to do the best for our healthy eating. And now I'll go into the next one, which is talking a little bit about a healthy diet that's just going to help increase your intake of important vitamins. Some research has shown that vitamins such as vitamin E or vitamins E and C together, vitamin B12, all show that you may have that can help with cognitive decline and possibly Alzheimer's. This research has resulted in some suggestions in how you can take dietary supplements to help that will lower your risk. However, dietary supplements or medical foods are made for those with nutritional deficiencies and are meant to be used only under supervision of a physician. Labels for medical foods or supplements cannot make drug claims or state that they alleviate symptoms of disease because they are not drugs as defined by the U.S. Drug Administration. Many are created with little to no regulation and may be potentially dangerous. So please, please be aware of false claims. With all these types of supplements, it's important to keep in mind that they are not without risk. They're made of chemicals that interact with other medications in negative ways or may upset the way that your body works naturally. Although they often cite research to back up their beneficial claims, the research has not been held to the rigorous standards required of medications by the FDA. So even when emerging research is there to back up the claims, it can be difficult to understand what the research means for you. So when getting information about supplements or vitamins, just check in with a reputable source of information about what research has been done. And the best way to understand and address how to care for yourself is to best discuss this with your physician. Work with a trusted doctor who understands your physical issues well. He or she can provide the best advice on how medications, vitamins, and dietary supplements will interact within your body. It is important to discuss any changes in medications with your doctor. All right, so now we are going to look at the research in the cognitive area activity. So cognitive activity is the term that we use for keeping our minds active. Anything that can use your mind in a challenging way is a cognitive activity and can possibly have short or long-term benefits for your brain. As you use your mind in new and challenging ways, your brain is actually begins to form and nourish new pathways for connections amongst your brain cells. So the more pathways you have, the more nimble your brain is, and the better you are able to guard against the effects of injury or diseases that may compromise average brain functions. So studies have been done in which some people engage in cognitive activity by playing games or reading material that's challenging for them. Those who keep their brains active in these ways can recall information that was recently learned and remember it later to a much greater degree than those who did not keep their minds stimulated through mental activity. However, we do not know all the reasons of why staying cognitively engaged may be beneficial. More research is taking place today to further explore and our understanding of this connection. But for now, research has shown that engaging in formal education, which is like classroom-based learning administered by professionally trained teachers in any stage of life, will help keep your brain healthy, and it can help protect your brain from developing dementia. And some researchers believe that this may be due to education creating more of a robust network of communication pathways between your neurons in the brain. Others believe that the differences have to do with more of education levels being related to some economic factors, which are correlated with risks of disease in general and access to mental care. So now I'm going into my next video, and this is Dr. David Bennett. He is the director of the Rush Alzheimer's Disease Center in Chicago, and he's going to talk a little bit about the research in the area of cognitive activity.
One of the most interesting factors is cognitive stimulating activities, which basically for us just means mental processing of information. It can be from a book, it can be from the radio, it can be a magazine, it can be from a lecture, it can actually be from watching TV. All of these things require processing information. And the old adage of, use it or lose it is actually something that turns out, at least from the observational data, to look like it's true. So numerous studies now have shown that being more engaged in cognitively stimulating activities is actually good for maintaining cognition. And it's true in late life, and it's true in early life. And so what we recommend is that you start early, and if you're already late, start now.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about how we exercise our brains and keep our minds active. On this next slide, you're going to see a few different suggested activities. So as you can see, read books and articles that challenge and inspire you, complete puzzles, play games that are challenging for you, learn new skills or hobbies. One that's not on here, but is definitely mentally challenging for me. Go buy your furniture from IKEA or any other related companies and just try to build a piece of furniture following those instructions. I know for me, that can be definitely a mind-engaging experience that challenges me in ways that I wish it didn't. But just think about it. It just goes beyond crossword puzzles, and it goes beyond jigsaw puzzles. That can come fairly easy to you. We're going to talk about like different ways that you're just solving problems that may have you stumped, or figuring out ways to approach a familiar task in a more efficient way. Anything that's going to require you to just think outside the box is going to be really helpful with your brain stimulation and giving yourself, building more healthy habits for yourself. So a couple things you could do, just learn a new skill or hobby. If you have been looking for a reason to pick up the guitar and give it a shot, do it. That's great for your health. Learn something new that interests you, that you find enjoyable. You may want to learn how to watercolor or paint or do another artistic endeavor. Go for it. Engage in ongoing learning. Seek opportunities for a formal education. This could involve taking a class at a local college or a community center that teaches you about a new topic, skill, or hobby. Also encourage and help your children and your grandchildren to get as much formal education as possible. Also join a club focused on a common interest. If you're into bird watching, go get into bird watching. That's fantastic. That's going to be really helpful with developing strong cognitive activities that will be better for you. And that's a double effect. You're just going to keep your mind active while engaging in social interaction. So while the brain training activities such as computer games that aim to improve your memory and attention span are an exciting area of research, none of those activities have been proven to buffer against Alzheimer's disease. So just be cautious of commercially marketed brain games with big claims and promises. One of the best ways to really stretch your mind and help your brain is to be as resilient as possible. Is to consistently engage in activities that involve learning new things or solving problems. Be sure to choose those activities that you enjoy to increase the likelihood that you're going to continue to enjoy them. That kind of goes back to when we were talking about, developing your healthy exercising habits. The key is do something that you enjoy. I think that's the biggest thing. Don't do something because you feel like you have to do it. Do something because you want to do it. And there are so many options for you out there that you should be able to find something that's really going to inspire you to keep doing these healthy habits. Now, moving on to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about our final area, which is the social engagement. This one is just basically the interaction with other people in a social setting. This is where there has been the least amount of research. However, there is some research that indicates that connecting with others socially may benefit the brain health and may actually delay the onset of dementia. So those who are engaged with other people also tend to have reduced rates of mortality and disability. So on my next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about how researchers aren't sure how or why or social networks may keep the brain resilient against Alzheimer's disease. Some scientists say that the traits that enable people to build and maintain friendships act as a buffer against cognitive impairment, regardless of whatever the reason is. We do know that people don't do well in isolation. I think last year is the biggest indicator of that. When people are feeling good about their social networks, they tend to make healthier choices in other areas of their lives. So there are a variety of ways to connect with others and reap the physical benefits of social interaction. As always, pursue the activities that are meaningful to you. These will provide the greatest connection with those around you and will keep you engaged. Sometimes you can engage in an activity that combines the area of healthy aging, such as when you take a walk with a friend or you volunteer to tutor young adults in your community. Whatever it is, find your purpose in life, an activity or a connection that gives your life a sense of meaning. That level of social engagement with your community is really going to help you with your healthy aging habits. And now let's put all these pieces together. Each of the 4 components we explored has the potential benefits for physical and cognitive health. As you can see on my next slide with our pie chart, you're going to see how recent research, however, suggests that combining a few of these different activities in all 4 areas may have the greatest benefit in maintaining or improving your brain health. So I have one more video for you. In this video, it's Dr. Bill. He's going to talk a little bit about a recent study that they've been making that's making a difference in what scientists are able to tell us about healthy aging.
Recently, at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference, there was a study reported of the results of a large clinical trial that was done in the Scandinavian countries. And in this trial, they took half the people in the trial and they adjusted their exercise level, their diet, their social engagement, and their mental stimulation. They developed programs for each one of those variables, changed all of those for the people that were in the test group, and the control group just lived as they had been. There is a tremendous benefit to doing studies where we make changes and observe after the fact. That's a much stronger study than just observing people and trying to make judgments after life has changed for them. To my mind, one of the things that this has done is that it's changed the force of recommendation that we might make around the benefit of these interventions for prevention of Alzheimer's disease or for brain health. And the fact is that I think it's moved it from possibly exercise, diet adjustments, social engagement, mental stimulation are useful, to probably. And that's a big change and makes it easier for people to make those kinds of adjustments for the benefit of their future health.
So as he's kind of talking about, it's really just important to take a holistic approach to your wellness as you age. Consider your health across many components, including your physical, your intellectual, your social, your spiritual, emotional, and different areas of your life that kind of contribute to you as an individual. You can make simple changes that will have a cumulative effect in helping you live the best way as possible. So on to my next slide. Here's what I just have to say. Just begin today It's never too late. It's never too early to start living in a more healthy way. Start small and build. Pick one area to start and expand from there. Take your changes step by step. Do what you enjoy, and then you'll actually stick with it. The more you do to enjoy an activity you've chosen, the more likely it is that you'll follow it and stick to your plan. Do something that you can manage in the time that you have available now. Choose an activity that you want to do for a while. Not just one that's going to be for now. Do one that you want to stick with through your lifetime. Exercise, eat nutritious diet, reduce some stress as much as possible. Make a plan. Use whatever tools you have available to you, including your doctors, your physicians, dietitians, whatever you have a whole support group of communities that's going to help you on your journey to making better life, healthier choices. And also have fun with it. It's so important to enjoy your journey. Don't do something because you have to. Find a way to make it enjoyable for you. And as we get to the final slides, I just want to talk a little bit about how age can present health-related challenges that can take an emotional and financial toll. So take a moment to consider, as you find many products in the market with medical and health-related claims that may be backed up by inaccurate or misleading research, check in with a professional about these things. These products and services may be expensive and time-consuming, and then eventually they can arouse false hope in users, and some may actually be dangerous for your health. Don't let your desire to find a cure or a quick solution to these challenges override your good judgment. These claims should be backed up by solid research. Research conducted with a large number of people, research that has been replicated, and research that has been published in a peer-reviewed journal. Before trying anything new, consult with professionals who know your situation, who are reliable sources of information. Your personal physicians is the best one to talk to when it comes to determining what your needs are and what product may be helpful or harmful for you. Local pharmacists are also great resources for information about drug and over-the-counter supplements and interactions. The Alzheimer's Association's website at alz.org can also be very helpful. Our site offers up-to-date information on research. And moving on to my final slides, also we can talk about our 24-hour hotline. If you are experiencing any challenges or you just need help, please call us. This hotline has been so beneficial to so many individuals who just needed someone to talk to. So please, please, please take advantage of this hotline. It is here for you. It is available around the clock, 365 days a year. This is a free service, and specialists and master degree level clinicians offer confidential support and information to people who are living with disease, to caregivers, families, and just to the general public. You can contact the helpline day or night. Some things that you can talk to them about: you can speak confidentially with a master's level care consultant for decision-making support, crisis assistance, or even education and for issues on family members that people face every single day. You can learn about the symptoms of Alzheimer's and other dementias. You can find out about local programs and services. You can get general information about legal and financial and care decisions, as well as treatment options for managing symptoms. We also receive help in your preferred language. So we do have over 200 languages available. So no matter where you're from, we are able to help. So please, if you need assistance at any time, please call our 24-hour hotline. It's there for you, and it is a free service that we hope that you will consider taking advantage of. And finally, virtual programs such as this one. We offer so many different programs. And on my next slide, you can see a little bit about the different programs that we offer. We have the 10 warning signs. We have Understanding Alzheimer's and Dementia, Dementia Conversations, which is about how to have effective conversations about dementia. We have effective communication strategies, which can be ways to really communicate with loved ones in a more efficient way to really make sure that they are being heard and seen. But we have so many options for you to take advantage of. So we recommend go ahead and check online with our whole services. We do offer in-person and virtual, but with the ongoing pandemic, we have transitioned to a more robust virtual offering. And if there's something that's missing in the area that you think that you you want, let us know. We are more than willing to come speak with you at your local church group. We can come to your community center. Wherever you are, we'll meet you where you need us. We're happy to support you in any way possible. And by that, I can also go into our next slide, which is our community resource finder. So you can visit our community resource finder online tool. It is a way for you to kind of look at what's available in your area. So as you can see, we have our programs, community service, housing options, care at home. A lot of our different partners are here to help you. So please feel free, if you are in need of some resources, check out our community resource finder. And then next we have our ALZ Connected, which is the very active online community for caregivers and people living with dementia. On my next slide, you can kind of see a little bit more about what the page looks like. You can browse forums without creating a profile. So you don't need to have a profile to see what's available to you. As you can see on the side here, it's a free online community for anyone who's being effective. These are all the individuals that you can take advantage of. But as you can see, we have a lot of information for you to consume and absorb, so please take advantage of it. And if you have any trouble navigating any of this, again, that hotline is a really great resource for you to just give us a call. And then finally, on my next slide is when you're facing an Alzheimer's disease, there are a lot of things to consider. Alzheimer's Navigator can help guide caregivers to answers by creating personalized action plans and linking you to information, support, and local resources. So again, if you are just starting your journey or you know someone who is, we definitely recommend taking a look at our Alzheimer's Navigation. It's going to help them kind of create the plan and the best moves for them to take as they begin their journey. And now my final slide is just questions. So I'm going to invite my friends from Benjamin Rose to let us know what questions have come in through the audience.
Thank you so much, Polly, for that very informative presentation. And I do invite all of you to please ask your questions using the questions box on the right-hand side of the control panel if you have not done so already. One of our audience members asked, do you have any advice for finding individualized nutrition advice for my aging loved one?
So this one's a little tricky for me because I don't necessarily want to guide you in one way or another. I do really recommend talking to a local dietitian or your physician to kind of identify what's they're missing in their diet plan. I think it really is customized to the individual. I personally follow the Mediterranean diet, and I have found it to be really nutritious and flavorful, if that makes sense. I know a lot of times when you start a new diet, you know, it can be limiting. It could be the frozen box plans. So I think what's really important is to take note of your what your lifestyle and your living choices are and what's really available to you, because I don't want to necessarily recommend you go do one of those expensive diet plans where, you know, you're required to have really difficult fruits to find at a local grocery store. I think it really does depend on what's available to you and what your doctor really recommends. I hope that was helpful.
Hello, my name is Ellen, and I'm a Social Security Disability Consultant.
Another question, is there value in diversifying physical activity? An attendee shared that their grandpa only does the stationary bike.
There is, and I think it goes back to the cognitive level as well, because the more that you can combine the different sections, the better off it is. So if he is at the point where he's only doing the bicycle, but he's not really challenging his brain to do a different exercise, I definitely recommend switching it up. However, I will say this, I'm a caretaker for my father, and physical activity is just not his thing. We've been trying so hard to try different things, and frankly, we've gotten to the point where he has the like seated bike, which is just like the pedals on the floor, and that's really all we can get him to do. So I think also addressing, like, if you know that your loved one is a little bit stubborn and may be not as open to changing up their activities, and they find a lot of comfort in their one exercise, don't encourage them to stop that one exercise. But if you can encourage them to try something different that's going to really challenge their brain, that's going to be really helpful with their aging process.
Thank you very much. Another question, do you have recommendations for finding resources for older adults who want to continue education or take classes?
So I find in this area, especially in Cleveland, we are really fortunate to have a lot of fantastic schools available to us. So I recommend, there is a lot, just a quick Google search actually, and Course Finder has been super beneficial to me. I find that depending on like what you're really looking for, I'm not particularly, I don't know personally of a good recommendation. However, this is a great time for me to pitch our 24-hour hotline. They do have a lot of individuals on there that do specialize in particularly partnering you with those sort of resources. So if doing the simple course finder online isn't going to give you the benefit that you're looking for, I do recommend giving a call to our 24-hour hotline. They do have professionals that are able to speak more confidently on that.
Thank you. Another question from the audience. Is there anything to help with learning what my mom is trying to say or feel since she is no longer able to speak? She answers yes to everything one day or no another day.
Yes. So we do have, so I would say call the 24-hour hotline because there is care consultants on there that can actually do a more customized conversation for you. But I will say we do have one of our programs, which is called Effective Communications, which kind of goes through some tips and tricks that we've learned along the ways through our research of ways to best communicate with loved ones who may not be able to verbally communicate with you. We do have that online as a course finder on our resources panel. So I recommend taking a look at when the next program is available virtually. We do have them available in this area. However, this is a national organization, so we have offerings all over the country. So even if it's not technically in your area, you're still going to be receiving the same information and resources if it's technically like a Florida chapter's presentation of this conversation. But I do recommend take a look at calling the 24-hour hotline to get a care consultant one-on-one consultation, but also take a moment to see if the Effective Communications course is available for you to take advantage of, because I know many people have found that to be a really helpful program.
Thank you so much. And that does conclude all of our audience questions. I want to thank you again, Polly, for presenting today and for all of that wonderful information that you shared. Before we conclude today's webinar, my co-project director, Branka Premedica, is going to tell all of you briefly about BRI Care Consultation, which is a care coaching program available to families impacted by dementia in Cuyahoga, Athens, and Washington Counties in Ohio, through this new Administration for Community Living project. Branka, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Benja Rose Institute on Aging, as Jenny had stated, we have generous funding available through the Administration on Community Living, where we offer BRI Care Consultation, which is an evidence-based delivery model for persons with dementia as well as their caregivers. So it's telephone and email based, and it assists and supports adults with or at risk for developing dementia, including those with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their family and friend caregivers or other supports. Next slide, please. So what does this program do specifically? Well, a personalized care consultant is assigned to work with a family for a year, for at least a year. And this personal care consultant helps with a variety of information and needs that the family is presenting. So you may need help finding and getting connected to health and community services. And the BRI Care Consultation program in this grant is embedded locally. So I'll go through the delivery agencies that do provide this program in a little bit. But they are very well versed in the area services in terms of getting connected. This program also works on prioritizing concerns with a simple step-by-step plan that's based on individual needs. It helps you communicate with loved ones, family, and friends about care and managing difficult situations and behaviors. So the care consultant does a lot of education and then incorporates different steps that can be helpful in the action plan. It also helps with staying in touch with individuals and families, so adjustments can be made as situations change. And so at the beginning, there's a lot of work to be done, and then along the way, it's all about maintenance and helping you adjust to any caregiving challenges. The care consultant assists with getting other family and members and friends involved, and just being there for you as an emotional support when feeling overwhelmed or faced with challenges. Next slide, please. And where can you find the service? So we have here, as part of the Administration on Community Living grant project, we have 3 counties that are working together to provide the service. And so I'll start out with some of our rural counties, which is Athens County. You have here United Seniors of Athens County. You have that number listed right there. I'll read it for you just in case you want to write it down: 740-594-3535. Then Washington County through the O'Neill Center, and that number is 740-373-3914. In Cuyahoga County, we have 2 providers. One is the Benjamin Rose Institute on Aging, and it's actually delivered under the name called We Care Because You Do. You can access that program by calling 216-791-8000. And then we have Welcome House. Welcome House is a provider for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and they specifically serve that population. And so that number is 440-356-2330. O'Neill and United Seniors, even though their primary population they work with is not individuals with disabilities, they also are going to be enrolling these individuals and having be part of their program models as well. So you can contact any of these organizations to find out more information, and they can connect you to a personalized care consultant that'll work with you for quite an extended period of time. Thank you. Back to you, Jenny.
Thank you, Bronca. Thank you, Bronca. Bronca, we did have one question for you from the audience. They
Yes.
wanted to know if the program BRI Care Consultation is open to all states or only in Ohio.
That's a very good question. So if you contact the Benjamin Rose Institute on Aging, and you can either ask for BRI Care Consultation or We Care, whatever's easier for you. We do have the program model delivered across the country. Not all of it's going to be funded by this funding opportunity, but we will either help you access a program from our agency, or we will connect you with one of our many over 30 organizations that deliver this program across the country. So I would just encourage you to call 791-8000. Just ask for BRI Care Consultation, and I could actually help navigate and connect you to an agency, or we could work with you to offer you the program through the Benjamin Rose Institute.
Thank you very much for that clarification and for that great information. Well, again, we just want to thank Polly for her wonderful presentation today, and I want to thank all of you for joining us for Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body, Tips from the Latest Research. A recording of today's session will be made available at www.benrose.org on the event registration page and in our resource library. We are offering more webinars like this for community organizations and families impacted by dementia each quarter of this ACL project. We hope you will join us for our next community webinar on October 25th, titled Maximizing the Environment for Individuals with Dementia. To stay up to date about our upcoming webinars, please visit our website. Again, that's www.benrose.org. In the chat, you will see a link to a post-session questionnaire. You will also be receiving it via email later today. We ask that you please complete the post-session questionnaire within 1 week following today's session. Your responses and feedback will be used to show the impact of programs like this and to improve the tools and resources provided to individuals living with dementia and the people who support them. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care.